Boy, that gets some quiet, doesn't it? Thank you all for being here this afternoon. Some of you were here this morning. You were here through the lunch hour, and you're here for the afternoon, and that's good. It's good to have some new faces here, and we're going to be hearing from some of them here in just a few minutes. And guys, don't disappoint me, because I told some of those people back there, I said, those old boys look to me like when they start, they'll make the rafters ring here. So you let her rip whenever you get up here.
Call making a joyful noise.
That's yeah, good point. I do, on behalf of the church, want to welcome each one of you and certainly appreciate your being here for our 165th anniversary. And I have not been here for all of them, just most of them. I have the distinction at this point in time of having the longest tenure of office of pastor, I guess, of any of the 51 pastors of this church over the years. There have been 51 of them going back to 1852, and I can tell you without any reservations, it has truly been a blessing to me to be able to serve as the pastor here. I always feel so indebted to all of those preachers who were here before me for having stood true to the gospel and having declared the word so that we could have the opportunity to come and to gather and worship the Lord. We had a wonderful service this morning, some wonderful singing, spirit-filled singing, I must say, and a good sermon, a good spirit-filled message from our dear preacher brother Paul. And certainly are expecting the same thing this afternoon, and it will be if every single one of us will just allow the Holy Spirit to have His right away in each one of our hearts, and that's what will make it a good service. I tell people from time to time that what is important is that we enjoy our work and the work of the Lord. You know, I think people need to enjoy it. I think the Lord wants us to be happy in His work. And of all the people in the world, we have a right to be the happiest people there are because of what He has done for us and for the fact that we are His children. And I so appreciate the opportunity to represent Him and to say that I am one of His children. And I'm so thankful for that. Not because, again, of anything that I have done, but for what He has done for me. And I'm so thankful for that. If you have a... let's see, I didn't make myself any place for announcements here, so I'll make one anyway. I did have the welcome, so this is part of the welcome. If you didn't get one of the little souvenir pins, not like this, because they won't give me one of them. This is mine. If you didn't get a pin, hold your hand up, and we've got some, but we'll get everybody get a pin. Yeah, okay, everybody's shaking their head. Well, I didn't need to make that announcement then, did I? But we do want to do that. We're going to, well, let's go by the program here. For you visitors, I've never been much of one to follow a program, so when they give me one, I don't know what to do with it most of the time, so I pretend to go through the motions. But it does say to welcome you and then to have a prayer. I'm going to ask you to all stand, if you would, for our opening prayer. It doesn't say whether or not I have to pray or not, so I'm not going to. I'm going to call again on one of my dear preacher brethren. Brother Al Bandy, would you lead us in prayer?
Heavenly Father,
I'm going to call on our church clerk to come and give you a reading of some of the church history. Carolyn, there you go. Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone.
good afternoon.
So good to see all of you here today. Such a special day for us. This is the history of Elkton Baptist Church. On the second Saturday in April 1852, a small band of Christian believers gathered at Wood's Schoolhouse, some 2.5 miles north of Elkton, Missouri, to organize a church. This group, under the leadership of James T. Wheeler, who later would become the first pastor, organized a Baptist church, and according to the original minutes read, quote, "And for then that the church shall be called Elkton, and the following articles of faith and rules of decorum," end quote. The minutes of their second meeting state, "The United Baptist Church of Jesus Christ at Elkton," and that name was used in the church minutes until the meeting of July 1886. The July 1886 minutes reflect a name change to, quote, "the Baptist Church at Elkton," end quote. There was no action of the church recorded in the church minutes to show this name change, and it must be assumed that the church clerk took upon himself to make the change. In later minutes, the church is called by several different names, depending on who was the church clerk. In April 1853, the church appointed a committee to find a suitable site for a meeting house. In the May 1853 meeting, the committee made their report. The report was received and the committee discharged. The church then voted and chose a site which had not been recommended by the committee. The site selected was described in the church minutes as, quote, "a spring west of Peter Yost," end quote. In the August 1853 meeting, the church further clarified their action by saying the chosen site was, quote, "near a spring west of where Peter L. Yost lives," end quote. Sometime in the early part of 1855, the church began meeting at their new meeting house. In 1890, the church established their first Sabbath school. Pastors were called on an annual basis and often left before their year was completed. It appears from the records that services were only conducted one weekend per month. The church enjoyed blessings of the Lord and the growth of their membership through their protracted meetings and camp meetings. Church discipline occupied many of the minutes of the meetings of the church. Many times the church had to take a scriptural and doctrinal stand, as people often attempted to introduce alien or false doctrines. In May 1886, the church appointed a committee, quote, "to meet with the Union Grove community to see on what terms the Union Grove Church and the Elkton Church can unite," end quote. The June minutes reflect the committee made their report. The report was approved and the committee discharged. A committee was chosen to look after a church site. At the meeting of July 1886, 10 members from the Union Grove Church were received on letters of admission. On June 15, 1952, the church celebrated a day of services to commemorate their 100th anniversary. Approximately 325 people were present for this celebration. A gospel quartet called the Gospel Four from radio station KGBX, Springfield, Missouri, sang a number of songs. A tribute to the charter members was given by Brother Roy Reed. A history of the church was presented by Mrs. Bess Nunn, who was the church clerk. A challenge to the church titled, quote, "looking forward," end quote, was given by Brother Oscar Erickson. On June 23, 2002, the church celebrated their 150th anniversary with all-day services. During these services, ministers were recognized. The church has one living former pastor, Reverend Jack Sawyers. Over the years, the church has worshiped in different locations and under some difficult circumstances, but has continued to keep its faithfulness to the Lord Jesus Christ. The church membership presently stands at 126 members. In 2005, the church was formed as a corporation and the legal name became Elkton Baptist Church. 2 deacons and a board of 3 trustees, along with the pastor, presently serve the spiritual and business interest of the church. The church has an active youth ministry, supports a drug addiction group, has members conducting regular support group meetings for caregivers, and has a very active, dedicated women's organization who use their talents and resources to further the cause of Christ. The church is blessed with having a talented music director and pianist who are continuing to expand the church music ministry. The church actively participates in many programs of the community, including the annual Easter sunrise service, the community-wide Christmas program, the vacation Bible schools, etc. The church has been responsive to assist in disasters, volunteers at Special Olympics state finals, and back-to-school programs. Currently, the church has regular preaching services each Sunday at 9:30 a.m., followed by Sunday school for all ages. Persons seeking a fundamental, Bible-believing, and practicing church are encouraged to attend the church to participate in their worship services. The church is planning 2 special Sundays to celebrate their 165th anniversary. The first day of celebration will be April 30, 2017. Former pastor Brother Jack Sawyers and Brother Paul Kofer will be preaching in the morning and afternoon services. A catered lunch will be provided for all in attendance. On June 11, 2017, Brother Johnny Carver and Brother Kenneth Massey will be preaching in the morning and afternoon services. An old-time basket lunch with dinner on the ground is planned. Special music will be provided at each of the services. The public is encouraged to attend any or all of these services. Other events throughout the year are still in the planning stages. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. And just as a follow-up to that, or maybe, no, it's not a follow-up, I guess part of it. Carolyn and I were chosen by the committee. There was a committee appointed by the church to put together the programs for these 2, and so it fell our lot to put the history together. I took then and requested the minutes from all of the church meetings going back to 1852. And if you happen to notice, or maybe you didn't notice as you came in the display case out here is the original minute book of 1852 with the original minutes in it. And we put that out there just so you could see that we do have those. Carolyn gave you the very formal historical presence. I get to do the dirt. Now, you know, Baptists are notorious for what we do and what we don't do, and we take great pride in that. We give other churches something to be critical of that way, and most of them are. But anyway, we've done a few things right and we've done a few things wrong, as Brother Paul mentioned this morning, as a church. It's interesting to go back through all of those minutes and to read various actions of the church. And I want to just share with you a few, and I'll try not to be too long. Now, the reason that I'm reading this is because I never had time to get them all typed up, and so they're in my handwriting, and no one else here could read my handwriting, so I have to do it myself. After the original 9 charter members organized the church on the second Saturday in April of 1852, the first person to join the new church, and this is going to surprise y'all, was Jane, a colored woman, on the second Sabbath in May of 1852, and she came by letter. I was tickled to death to read that. That, you know, and she was obviously, she was a slave. Didn't have a last name, and that's brought out in the minutes a little further on, a few years later. But I just found that interesting, and I know some of you probably think, oh man, why did he have to bring that up? But it's there, and that was a fact, and that's part of the history of the church. As Carolyn mentioned, the name of the church changed over the years. And most of the time it was not an official action of the church. As was mentioned, church clerk just decided that's what I'm going to call the church, and nobody challenged the clerk's authority to do that. And the thing is, in a Baptist church, in our Baptist churches anyway, when we have a reading of the minutes and those minutes are approved, that's gospel. That's the official record. So as far as I'm concerned, when those clerks changed those and the church sat there and listened to them read and they didn't do anything about it, that was the name of the church. So the first one was the United Baptist Church of Jesus Christ at Elkton. It went that way for several years. Now, I found it interesting too that after that committee was appointed to find a place to build a church building, the committee came back and gave the report to the church. The church accepted the report, discharged the committee, and they said, no, we don't like that. We're just going to go to that place. So they voted to put it somewhere else. And then after they voted to do that, they said, well, we don't like that vote, so let's carry this over to the next meeting and we'll vote again. And so they went 2 or 3 months before they voted again, and that finally stood. Now, and I'm not making any of this up. This is all directly out of the minutes. In September of 1853, after they had agreed on the spot, it says the church agreed to set subscriptions on foot for the purpose of enabling her to erect a meeting house. So they went about just a little differently than we do today, how they were going to raise the money to build this building. In July of 1856, the church voted to hold a meeting in October, but would wait until the August business meeting to decide whether it was going to be a protracted or a camp meeting. How many of you know the difference in a protracted meeting and a camp meeting? I never heard of such a thing before. I guess I don't know what the difference is today, but I was hoping somebody could enlighten us here on that thing. But that was official action of the church to wait as to what they wanted to call it. Just for information, they went ahead and called it a protracted meeting later on. In May of 1857, the minutes say, in consequence of there being rumors afloat derogatory to the Christian character of Brother Blank and Sisters 5 blanks, the church on motion second resolved to inquire into the truth of said rumor. The brother was in attendance at the business meeting and was questioned and called upon to answer to the accusations of drunkenness and dancing. He acknowledged both reports to be true, expressed his sorrow, asked forgiveness of the church, and the church voted to forgive him and retain him as a member. So they did something right. Now then the second was rumor about 2 women, these were sisters, was they had been, quote, bedding with some of the young men. The second case involved a sister who had defrauded another sister about spinning and reeling of yarn. The cuts were not requiring the required number of threads in the material, so this was considered to be a defrauding. In June, the committee that had been appointed to investigate these charges found no grounds upon which to base the rumors about the 2 bedding sisters, and both were retained as members. In the defraud case, the lady was present at the meeting. She indicated she had not deliberately defrauded the other lady, and if she had done that, she was sorry for it, and she apologized to the church and to the lady, and again they accepted her apology and withdrew the charge and retained her in fellowship. In 1858, Samuel Tilley made a site of 9 acres of land for the benefit of the Elkton Meeting House, including the site on which said meeting house stands, and it was voted to pay him $11.25 for said land, 9 acres. In 1859, a sister was excluded from the church for, quote, improper and lewd conduct previous to her marriage, and circumstances which have occurred since, in our opinion, render the report probable, and she was dismissed. So, you know, they sometimes they got it right, and sometimes the procedures weren't probably scriptural. Then there are no recorded minutes from June of 1861 to 1865, and that would have been the period during the Civil War. And our understanding was that probably they did not meet at that time. In August of 1865, they met and adopted a resolution which basically states, they have passed through a bloody war since the last conference, and perhaps some of our members have become absent and others in disorder. Therefore resolve that we take up the roll of names of our church members and deal with each one as we think will be most to the advancement of the cause of Christ. And so basically what they did is after the Civil War, they still had a church roll, and they addressed each member individually as to what their position was. And then in March of 1869, it says, it shall be the duty of each male member to pay to the treasurer of the Elkton Church the sum of 25 cents to be paid at April meeting annually for the use and the benefit of the Elkton Church. So all male members got an assessment of 25 cents a year. Ladies, I guess we're exempt. In May of 1884, they voted to do away with the 25-cent annual fee to be paid by all male members of the church. So they ran it for a while. And then in 1886, in January, they excluded the church member for hog stealing. The meeting with the Union Grove Church to see if they could unite, there was a committee appointed. The committee came back and made the report to the church, and there's no indication as to what their report was. And another committee was appointed to look after church sites. So the assumption is that, there was some agreement here, and later on, there were a number of members who came to the Elkton Church and united with it, and they were combined then. And let's see, there was a finance committee chosen by the church and instructed to take up subscriptions for the purpose of building a church house, and also voted to give each male member, or to have each male member pay 10 cents into the church treasury. So they dropped the allocation from a quarter down to a dime now, so probably hard times. They changed the name. Let's see, at one time it was called the Baptist Church at Elkton, another time it was called the Church of Christ. Called everything under the sun. In 1887, the church adopted a resolution in order to be published in the American Baptist flag of St. Louis, Missouri, and the index indicating there was a certain sect known as the Holy Band in our midst, and that the church denounces said sect as being heretical in doctrine and practice. I found that to kind of be interesting. Apparently they got some members in here who were, I have no idea what the Holy Band was. Probably a band like y'all, don't you imagine? Anyway, I'm going to skip over a lot because I know I'm taking some time and it's probably pretty boring to most of you. In 1891, the church agreed to have a basket supper, and the proceeds be used for, quote, seating the church. Notation in the minutes was that the supper and the cake amounted to $57.60. And then in 1892, the following subscription was ordered taken up at date of subscription by the church and was not recorded until this day. And in 1886, it said, we the subscribers agree to pay the amount set opposite our names for to build a Baptist church house at Elkton. And for other denominations, when not in use by the Baptist church, the said amount to be paid by the 1st of December 1886. And then in May of 1892, the church voted to retain all the offices for a year, and the trustees refused to serve. New trustees were elected, and two couples requested letters of dismissal and received a notation second for such, but minutes reflect the church refused to vote on the matter. So, as I say, the church has had its history. It's somewhat colorful. That's what I said to the reporters this morning. It's had kind of a colorful history. So, when it goes back again, Paul, I think of what you said this morning. We are all imperfect, and churches many times, as much as we'd like to think they always get it right, they don't. And once in a while, they just they're well-intentioned, but they just make some mistakes. And I don't know why they would have done something like this, but they wouldn't even vote on those people's letter. It doesn't say why. Let's see if I can find something else that maybe will interest you a little bit. Yeah, okay, now that doesn't tell me the amount. Somewhere here, we're going to sell that land. Yeah, we did. Here it is. Trustees reported the sale of church land. This is that 9 acres we bought for $11. They made a profit. They sold it for $25. There are probably other things that are of interest to me that maybe not to you. Let me see if I've got... At one point in time, they apparently had some controversy in the church, and they had 15 members that they listed as practicing and teaching heretical doctrine. And so what they did is they said, we're going to notify all those people, and they ought to come before the church and answer to the charges. And we want that to go not only by committee, but we want it in writing, so they've all got it. So the first meeting, this one guy shows up out of the 15. And you know, he acknowledges, you know, so after they had some, obviously some controversy over whether to retain him or not, then they decided we're going to draw up a document, and if these people agree to sign it, then we'll retain them as members, and if they don't agree to sign it, you know, we'll withdraw the fellowship from them. So they had some interesting things they drew up, and it was quite interesting to read that. Here's an interesting for you women. At one point in 1908, the church appointed a committee of 3 women to put up the church bell. I just thought, you know, the men probably, I guess the men didn't want to do it, so they appointed 3 women. And then later it says that the women made their report back to the church. The bill had been put up at a cost of $30, and the church then appointed a committee to solicit funds for the $30. So I guess the women did what I've always said, you know, if men would take their place, the women wouldn't have to do as much, but I'm thankful to the Lord that over the years, women have stood in there and kept the lights burning and the fires going and the services around. And I mean that in all sincerity. Men should have been doing it. They didn't always do it. We still are kind of that way today. There are a couple of periods of time when we do not have minutes of some of the services. I was trying to read this one real quick, and I'm going to finish. Oh, yeah, this was one. In April of 1893, charges had been brought against one of the female members for unethical behavior, to put it mildly. But in 1909, you know, 15 years later, the church takes an action and says that the charges were not correct, and that they reinstituted fellowship for the lady, and then she asked for a letter so she could move away. So I thought that rather interesting. This building was dedicated, the service was set for April 27th, 1969. So almost, you know, it's April the 30th today, so we got pretty close to the anniversary of when this building was dedicated. Jack, who's going to be preaching this afternoon, was called as a pastor in January of 1978. And that's all of the history I'm going to read. I think I mentioned there have been 51 pastors of the church. Some of us took 2 hitches at it. The church was pretty willing to allow that to happen, but they did. And the next thing on here is for special recognitions, and that's mine. I want to, I call on Brother Al Bandy to pray for us. Brother Al Green is going to be, now he's listed on here as Elvin Green, and that's his correct name. So if some of you are wondering who Elvin Green is, that's Al. But along with Brother Paul and myself and Brother Jack, we just tallied up out there. We had a picture taken a while ago, and we have a combined total of 200 plus years in the ministry. Us 5. Al's the senior. He's got 61 years. I'm running a close second with 60. Jack and Al both. Al, yours was 40. 40. And yours was 34. Am I right? 40. Well, okay. I've got. Well, so see, you can add them up there. I was, well, but that's quite phenomenal, folks. If you just really want to know what to have. The honor of having these men here with all those years in the ministry, and I truly believe they are deserving of a hand this afternoon. I know preachers sometimes think that you're not supposed to applaud for them, but listen, these guys could probably get up here and tell you stories from now till dark of their experiences in the ministry. But I'm so thankful that God's still calling men to preach the gospel. We are so blessed in our church to have a number of people who help put all of this together. Not only what we've done today, but what we'll be doing on June the 11th. There is a committee. Would all of you committee members just please stand up so people can see who you are? Timmy's back there in the booth, and Karen and Tracy and Bill and Melba and Carolyn and Ronnie, and you can be seated. This committee, when we were formed, we kind of divided into subcommittees, or we got some chairpersons for each of the facets of the program, and they all took them up, and they've done a good job. I'm going to be honest with you, they've got everything pretty well lined up. And so if you've got a concern about something that you think needs to be done or shouldn't be done, you need to see one of those committee members. Don't come to me, and don't go and make any changes, because you may be changing something they've already got done. So thank you, committee members, for your work. And their work is not over. They'll be meeting again next Sunday morning to kind of go over how today went and what maybe we can do to make the June 11th any better, if it can be any better, and it may not be able to be. You guys have done a great job today. Thank you. Pam and the ladies who've done a wonderful job in getting all of the decorating done, and she had help from, I keep saying the ladies, but I know there were some men involved too, so thank you for that job. I also want to recognize who at this point in time we have ascertained is our oldest living, that's the oldest member and years of membership. I had to restate that. I'd get in trouble, Johnny. Johnny Lee Nelson is here, and she is, Johnny, stand up so they can all see you. Most everybody knows you, but I want, yes. She doesn't know this yet, but on the program for June 11th, Johnny Lee, be prepared, because I'm going to call on you to speak a little bit. Not over 30 minutes, but no, I seriously, I mean, it's an honor to have her here with us, to be with us. At the 150th, I recall that Mrs. Erickson was here, who had been at the 100th anniversary, and I thought that was kind of interesting that she had been able to be back after that time. And so, but I'm so appreciative of Johnny Lee. She's one of these people who's been a solid person in the church, and she's seen a lot of these ups and downs that I spoke of. Our church has not been without its color, and I don't mean that black and white. I'm talking about problems. So I just call it like it is, and so I appreciate her, the work that she has done here. I probably could go on and name other people, but I'm going to stop because I'm probably running over a little bit on time. We have with us this afternoon a group that first time that I've ever met them, the first time that I'm ever going to hear them, and if you don't like them, don't come and tell me. If you like them, tell them. Tell them. And if you don't like them, don't go tell them either. Just keep quiet and go right on out the door, you know. No, I'm serious. We will, I know, enjoy them and enjoy the music they're going to bring. And they're here because one of our committee members recommended them. And so without knowing a lot to introduce you guys about, just come on up here and take over here and let her rip this afternoon. No, I know that you'll do us a good job, and we appreciate your taking the time out to come. You're busy people too. Thank you. I'm going to get down here where I can see.
Howdy. We're kind of a conglomeration. I think it's, we haven't never played as a group performing anywhere, have we?
No, just for fun.
Aren't you lucky?
Well, now, these three here, Joyce, myself, and Herb, we were in part of a group for a number of years. These two fellows back here was acquainted with a good friend of ours collectively. That was our guitar player for a period of time. Till his son started pursuing political pursuits, and he was drawn away for that. And so we just kind of been a group of friends that jam together occasionally and everything like that. And
I think you could put in a plug for the Bear Creek Jam.
yeah, for the Bear Creek Jam over at the Bear Creek Church on second Saturday night. That's a pretty good time, you know. A lot of tame folks and everything out there. That's kind of my criteria. I've got to be around tame people. I don't like the rabid ones or the ones too rowdy.
What time, Betty?
What time? 6 o'clock in it?
5:30.
5:30. You got to keep me lined out on these things. You know, I'll do lucky to find my way back out the door. Who's first and what are we doing?
I don't care.
I don't know that.
Looks like you're first, you're close, you go for it.
Kibby.
TV.
In fact, this is a song that Mike Jones used to do. He passed, what, a year ago?
May 9th.
May 9th. When upon the clouds of heaven, Christ shall come to earth again. Will the world be glad to see Him when our Lord shall come again? There'll be singing, there'll be shouting, there'll be sorrow, there'll be pain, there'll be weeping, there'll be praying when our Lord shall come again. Well, it's coming, rain got, Sweetness?
Want to do Young Marine? That's it.
Is that an E? Okay. We'll try one on you here. I don't think you guys probably heard this before, but
Well, we've always wanted to.
well, now's your chance.
I've done it at the jam.
You're done at the jam. I've been in the jam a few times. See if I can get right over here and I'll get the pattern. Just step over. Just that. That's
They got one
good.
over here.
No, I got it.
All right.
They're looking for pills for it, but I've got it. Oh, how would I kick this?
The sky is getting dark and the clouds are moving in when the storms of life fill our hearts with pain. Just let the Savior in, and when you trust in Him, He will lead you beyond the rain. Beyond the rain, there'll be no more crying, no more dying, no more pain. When we put our lives in the hands of Jesus, He will lead us beyond the rain. Our lives alone, try to make it on our own, still the heartache and emptiness remain. Just hold on to God's hand, He will lead you to a land where the sun will always shine beyond the rain. The battle has been won. God gave His only Son to fulfill the promises He made. If only we believe, what a gift we will receive to live with Jesus beyond the rain. Beyond the rain, there'll be no more dying, no more crying,
That's a pretty song, good job. Thank you, sir.
Somebody's gonna have to step up here and do something, or I'll start telling big windy stories.
Oh, don't do that.
Hurry up, Richard, get up there.
Old country church.
Old
See,
country.
Charlie?
See,
I'll see if I can do that.
close your eyes. You wanna kick it off?
Huh? Okay.
There's a place dear to me that I'm longing to be with my friends at the old country church. There with mother we went, and our Sundays were spent with our friends at the old country church. Precious years of memories, how I long once more to be. Once more to be with my friends at the old country church. As a small country boy, how my heart leapt with joy as I knelt in the old country church. And the Savior above, by His wonderful love, saved my soul in that old country church. Precious years of memory, oh what joy they bring to me. How I long once more to be with my friends at the old country church. How I wish that today all the people would pray like we prayed in our old country church. If they'd only confess, Jesus surely would bless like He blessed in the old country church. Precious years of memory, oh what joy they bring to me. How I long once more to be with my friends at the old country church. All my thoughts make me weep, for so many now sleep in their graves near the old country church. And someday I may rest with the friends that I love best in my grave near the old country church. Precious years of memory, oh what joy they bring to me. How I long once more to be with my friends at the old country church. With my friends at the old country church.
When you ring the bell? How about G. George?
That'd be good. I didn't quite understand what she was saying. I thought she said running bear, and I thought, well, that wouldn't be quite.
Running bear?
I don't remember that as being a gospel song.
Not really, no, not at all. In the road was a Lord, and the bell was a sound of days that have come and gone. And the road led down it came to life. Ring the bell, ring the bell, ring the bell, ring the bell, oh far and wide. You can hear it on the mountain, out across the valley. Ring the bell and go to his side. Well, the barber and the preacher, barber and the teacher all held hands and moved as one. The holy word was sung not spoken, of the spirit unbroken, and the spirit moved in everyone. Ring the bell, ring the bell, ring the bell, ring the bell, oh far and wide. You can hear it on the mountain, right across the valley. Ring the bell and go to his side. In the middle of the street, I fell down on my knees to the baby that showed me my gold. With a shiver and a start, he reached into my heart with the kindest words I ever told. Ring the bell, ring the bell, ring the bell, ring the bell, oh far and wide. You can hear it on the mountain, and across the valley. Ring the bell and go to his side. Ring the bell and go. Ring the bell, ring the bell, oh far and wide. You can hear it on the mountain, and across the valley. Ring the bell and go to his side. Ring the bell and go to his side.
Thank you.
Howdy. We're kind of a conglomeration. I think it's, we haven't never played as a group performing anywhere, have we?
Well, just for fun.
Aren't you lucky?
Well, now, these three here, Joyce, myself, and Herb, we were as in part of a group for a number of years. These two fellows back here was acquainted with a good friend of ours collectively. That was our guitar player for a period of time. Till his son started pursuing political pursuits, and he was drawn away for that. And so we just kind of been a group of friends that jam together occasionally and everything like that. And
Yeah, I think you could put in a plug for the Bear Creek Jam.
yeah, for the Bear Creek Jam over at the Bear Creek Church on second Saturday night. That's a pretty good time, you know. A lot of tame folks and everything out there. That's kind of my criteria. I've got to be around tame people. I don't like the rabid ones or the ones too rowdy.
What time, Betty?
What time? 6 o'clock in it?
5:30.
5:30. You got to keep me lined out on these things. You know, I'll do lucky to find my way back out the door. Who's first and what are we doing?
I don't care.
I don't know that.
Looks like you're first, you're close, you go for it.
Kibby. In fact, this is a song that Mike Jones used to do. He passed, what, a year ago?
May 9th.
May 9th. When upon the clouds of heaven Christ shall come to earth again, will the world be glad to see Him when our Lord shall come again? sweetness.
Or do younger one. That's it.
Is that an E? Okay. We'll try one on you here. I don't think you guys probably heard this before, but
Well, we've always wanted to.
well, now's your chance.
I've done it at the gym.
You're done at the jam. I've been in the jam a few times. See if I can get right over here and I'll get the pattern. Just step over. Just that.
You
That's
got one
good.
over here, too,
No,
huh?
no, I've got it.
All right.
They're looking for pills for it, but I've got it. Oh, how would I kick this?
The sky is getting dark and the clouds are moving in when the storms of life fill our hearts with pain. Just let the Savior in, and when you trust in Him, He will lead you beyond the rain. Beyond the rain, there'll be no more crying, no more dying, no more pain. When we put our lives in the hands of Jesus, He will lead us beyond the rain. Our lives alone, try to make it on our own, still the heartache and emptiness remain. Just hold on to God's hand, He will lead you to a land where the sun will always shine beyond the rain. Beyond the rain, there'll be no more crying, no more dying, no more pain. If we put our lives in the hands of Jesus, He will lead us beyond the rain. The battle has been won. God gave His only Son to fulfill the promises He made. If only we believe, what a gift we will receive to live with Jesus beyond the rain. Beyond the rain, there'll be no more dying, no more crying, no more pain.
job. Thank you, sir.
Somebody's gonna have to step up here and do something, or I'll start telling big windy stories.
Oh, don't do that.
Hurry up, Richard, get up there.
Old country church.
Old country
See, Charlie?
See.
I'll see if I can do that.
Close your eyes.
You want to kick it off?
Huh? Okay.
There's a place dear to me that I'm longing to be with my friends at the old country church. There with mother we went, and our Sundays were spent with our friends at the old country church. Precious years of memories, how I long once more to be. Once more to be with my friends at the old country church. As a small country boy, how my heart leapt with joy as I knelt in the old country church. And the Savior above, by His wonderful love, saved my soul in that old country church. Precious years of memory, oh what joy they bring to me. How I long once more to be with my friends at the old country church. How I wish that today all the people would pray like we prayed in our old country church. If they'd only confess, Jesus surely would bless like He blessed in the old country church. Precious years of memory, oh what joy they bring to me. How I long once more to be with my friends at the old country church.
Go ahead now.
Oft my thoughts make me weep, for so many now sleep in their graves near the old country church. And someday I may rest with the friends that I love best in my grave near the old country church. Precious years of memory, oh what joy they bring to me. How I long once more to be with my friends at the old country church. With my friends at the old country church.
When you ring the bell? How about G. George?
That'd be good. I didn't quite understand what you was saying. I thought you said running bear, and I thought, well, that wouldn't be quite.
Running bear?
I think I don't remember that as being a gospel song.
Not really, no, not at all. In the road was a dawn, and the bell was a sound of days that have come and gone. And the road led down to a town on the hillside
I assure you that it's clean. It's G-rated. Well, you know, this preacher, and I think he was probably a Baptist preacher, one Sunday morning he got up to preach, and he started in fine style. Made it about 3 minutes and he quit. Went out and he sat down. Deacon come up to him, he said, "Preacher," he said, "what's going on here? You only preached for 3 minutes and then you quit." Preacher says, "Well," he said, "I've got new teeth." And he said, "I'm having an awful time with them." He said, "I just can't get used to them." The deacon said, "Well, I guess we're going to have to, just get by with it." And the next Sunday, it was the same old story. He got up there and he preached for about 3 minutes and he sat down and quit. Deacon come up, he said, "Preacher, what's going on this?" He said, "What's these teeth?" He said, "They're killing me." I said, "I just can't get used to them." Well, the next Sunday, preacher got up there and he preached for 4 hours. 4 hours straight, didn't even hardly took a breath, just about wore everybody to pull him out. Finally, he wound down and quit. Deacon says, "Preacher, I don't know what's going on here." He said, he said, "For 2 Sundays in a row, you preach for 3 minutes and then you sat down." He said, "Now, 4 hours." He said, "What's the deal?" Preacher says, "Well, I was in a hurry this morning and I wasn't paying attention. And I grabbed my wife's teeth by mistake and I haven't been able to shut up since."
He's got to go out that door, ladies.
Pastor Al, will you still claim me?
Who forgot?
Oh, we're doing something, Herb.
I haven't done anything so long, I don't know who I can remember yours. You want to do that old Lester Plant? Old Center, old Lester Tennis Center, don't you want to?
What key you doing?
Working on the building, is that what you're thinking of? No, but I could do that one.
Yeah.
I probably remember words better.
Dave, you're confusing the issue here. We will get one.
Well, that's in KG.
Kid G?
Well, we'll work on there.
What are we in, G?
We're in G, and I don't know what he's going to do, but he's going to do it here pretty quick.
If I was a sinner, I'll tell you what I'd do. I'd put my sinning hand, I'd work on a building too. I'm working on a building. I'm working on a building. I'm working on a building. Pour my heart, pour my heart. It's a Holy Ghost building. It's a Holy Ghost building. It's a Holy Ghost building. Pour my heart, pour my heart.
banjo in
Sure,
town.
Andy John.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, alrighty.
What is that you got down that?
G.
With a circle being unbroken?
Yeah, sure.
With a circle.
What are you doing?
With a circle being unbroken?
Okay.
G. In G George.
What you say, will the circle be unbusticated?
Yeah, busted.
Okay.
In key G God.
You want it cold or you just want me to kick it?
Just lay it right out there.
Here we go.
I was standing by my window on a cold and cloudy day when I saw the hearse come rolling, Lord, to carry my mother away. Will the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. Well, I told that undertaker, please drive slow, 'cause this lady you are hauling, Lord, I hate to see her go. Will the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? Everybody, will the circle home waiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. Well, I followed close behind her, trying to hold up and be brave. But I could not hide my sorrow when they laid her in the grave. Will the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? There's better home waiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. There's a better home waiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky.
Good job, John.
Thank you, sir.
Back to me? I knew it was gonna come down to this someday. I was watching this young lady out here climbing on that little ladder and just saying, don't fall off. It's not recommended. I'm draw a blank.
Traveling the highway home, or I saw the light, or standing in need of prayer, or
You
Do I know any of those?
traveling the highway home, you ever do that?
It's, is that the one that starts out darkness tonight, not a star was in sight? No, that's that other song.
maybe you need to do something you know.
Yeah, I need to do something that's, let's get that back down there in E.
Back in E?
Get down in E. And I'll do another one that I learned from Mikey Jones. Kind of another Mike Jones tribute song in a way. I don't know, there's a couple of you out there I know that knew the man, but he was pretty well rounded. You know, he was a good guy all around. sit down and discuss all kinds of things with him, talk politics,
And he just
whatever.
grooved.
Just grooved along.
I'm just grooving along.
But I gotta remember how to start this.
Do you want someone else to take a turn?
No, I need my brain to switch back on and stay on to where I can use it a little bit. That's a tough thing, isn't it, Al, when that thing just turns off on you? It's too slow. Pump it up. Well, the last time we talked was when I needed help. I was in trouble, something I'm good at. You were there for me then, and I hope you're there now. 'Cause God, I need you again. I'm sorry I didn't pray until now, but things just took up my time. Forgive me this last time I pray, dear God, pick me up just one more time. I remember I said we're talking once more that I would pray when things were going good. But it seems like my vow was like a leaf in the wind, here then gone again. I'm sorry I didn't pray until now, but things just took up my time. Forgive me this last time I pray, dear God, pick me up just one more time. I'm sorry I didn't pray until now, but things just took up my time.
This is a little, just a short little song. It's for all you ladies out there that have been major caregivers for your grandchildren and what have you. I know a lot of you have.
Or have raised them.
I adopted and raised one of my grandsons. And this song is for us. I went to live with Grandma when I was just a kid. If someone ever needed someone, I'm someone who did. She loved Grandpa and Jesus with plenty of love to spare. She taught me about him in her big old rocking chair. I learned about Jesus in Grandma's rocking chair. Sometimes when I'm troubled, I wish that I was there. 'Cause when she sang of his sweet love, I didn't have a care. I learned about Jesus in Grandma's rocking chair. I love to hear her hum as she worked through the day. And each night at bedtime I love to hear her pray. She taught me about heaven, awaiting way up there. And I first got that feeling in her big old rocking chair. I learned about Jesus in Grandma's rocking chair. Sometimes when I'm troubled, I wish that I was there. 'Cause when she sang of his sweet love, I didn't have a care. I learned about Jesus in Grandma's rocking chair. Yes,
I think it's over to you, Dave.
Is it me?
Or is it Richard?
It's Dave's.
Somebody's keeping tabs, aren't they?
You bet I am, I'm lazy.
Yeah, we're kind of the epitome of organization here. Like I said, that we haven't actually played together as a group. And we're just kind of, ad-libbing right now. But no, you get to thinking about things a little bit and everything, and I don't want to be taken wrong at this, because this isn't why we do this. I don't know if you noticed that there on Joyce's base, but both firefighters, first responders, and it drives home a lot of things in life. One is how fleeting and short life is, because I can't remember if he was 31 years old or 33 years old. The only thing I know is that I still see his face. We rolled out on, he's drunk, and I was talking to him. Moments later, a half hour or so later, I was helping load him in a body bag because he aspirated and didn't make it. And so it drives home the importance of making sure of where you are in your spiritual life. Anyone that has any questions needs to go to God and take care of that, because you're here one moment, the next moment you're not. And we see this daily. We also witness miracles, because we still have a God of miracles. It's like the time that rolled out on a call, 17-year-old girl in a Pontiac Sunbird had been broadsided by an 18-wheeler on the driver's side. And when I walked up to the car, she was standing beside her car. And I'll violate HIPAA here, but and I walked up to her, and there she stood, and I seen the side of her car, and I said, "Jess, are you okay?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "Is it okay if I check you?" "Yeah." And the only thing she had was a little bit of bruising over here on her left arm. And there she stood. And so we also get to witness miracles. Two things. We indeed still have a God of miracles that will always be. And always draw close to God. This is what I tell everyone. It's just like the one patient. We run multiple times on him. Long-time drug addict, and alcoholic, this type of thing like that. And I remember one time so well, we had to wait on the ambulance a little bit, and he was talking about his situation. And the only thing I knew to tell him, and I told him, I said, "This is the only advice that I have for anyone." Because I said the same advice that I have to use in my life. I said, always in all things, I said, draw close to God. That's your only answer.
That's right.
I said, nothing else. I said, nothing that anybody else here can do will help you, but draw close to God. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it, people.